Crypto Fighters. I'm very excited for this conversation. As most, I feel like Crypto Fighters is a historical project that goes all the way to the top of 2018. It was minted in January, but is heavily overlooked for some reason. There's been some features within Crypto Fighters, but there's a lot of history and a lot of innovation. So I'm very excited for one of the original creators, Elie, to join me on the podcast and teach everybody about one of the most underlooked and overlooked at the same time projects out in the historical space. So Elie, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Great to be here.
Absolutely a pleasure. I know you've been on a few podcasts, like I mentioned. You're on Adam's and on Kev's. We'll just start right from the beginning, make it a little bit easier. Tell us a little bit about Elie and a little bit about the journey into crypto and how you came onto creating Crypto Fighters with a few other of your co-founders.
Yeah, sure. So a bit about myself. I'm originally from London. These days I'm based in Tel Aviv. Been living here the last 14 years or so. My background is as a developer. I have a computer science degree. I did a bunch of stuff. I worked as a freelancer for a few years. I ran a company where we sort of hired out freelancers to lots of different companies, mostly Israeli developers to companies in Israel. And in terms of the crypto stuff, so I started getting into it around end of 2017, I guess, when sort of the crypto hype of 2017-18 was happening. A lot of people, I ran a different startup at the time called Draft Fantasy. It was a fantasy football game that I had sort of started as a side project, turned into a full-on company that had over 200,000 users signed up for that. At the time we were sort of finishing with Draft Fantasy, and I was talking to a lot of my friends in the co-working space we were at, and CryptoKitties had just become a thing. And I was busy playing around with CryptoKitties. I think it was the inspiration for a lot of the original projects like Axie Infinity. I think a few others were inspired by CryptoKitties. And basically, I thought it was a cool concept. I thought it would be fun to basically take that concept of, instead of breeding two cats, to create a new cat, each person would sort of collect fighters. Maybe some sort of Pokemon type game. There was another project which was more, was it Ethermon at the time, was from around back then as well. But the concept was pretty simple. You have your fighters, I have my fighters. You can take them, we can battle together in the arena. It could be up to 5-on-5, and basically whoever won the battle would be rewarded with a new fighter. So in CryptoKitties, it was the breeding of the new cat. And here it was, you would take two of your own cats and breed. And here it was taking your fighter versus someone else's fighter. And there'd be a prize for the winner. And this prize was now you just sort of created something valuable out of thin air that you could go and sort of sell on. And that was sort of the basic concept. The gameplay was cool. It was somewhat simple. The battle would happen on chain. Today, if you run that battle, it's extremely expensive. In short, the battles work by, it's a bit of randomness plus seeing who the fighters are on each side of the battle, and then basically determining who the winner is. So if you have stronger fighters, you have a higher chance of winning, but it's not guaranteed that you're going to win.
Yeah. So there are a ton of projects that were inspired by CryptoKitties, Panda Earth, you guys with Crypto Fighters, there's Crypto Bots, a handful with the breeding additions or some sort of generational component to it. You said you got into crypto in 2017 and went immediately for NFTs. I find that quite interesting. Most that get in 2017, NFTs don't click. They go immediately to the shit coins, which was myself in 2017. What was it about NFTs that clicked for you?
I know. I was just probably the same as you. I definitely owned a whole bunch of random coins, and that is definitely where I started off. And I guess what was interesting to me about NFTs was, it's strange. I guess it's more understandable now, but just this hype around CryptoKitties for a week or two, or maybe it was a few weeks, but just it was fascinating, I guess, in a few different ways. There's sort of this collecting aspect that was sort of lacking from regular crypto, I guess. And I guess when I was younger, things like Pokemon, and I don't know, it's it's been a long time since I played, but it like that sort of concept, I guess, like was cool. And I like the whole mechanic of like, wow, I'm printing cats. I'm a cat farm online. It's just the most the most ridiculous concept. Like I'm a cat breeder. Like, but my parents have 2 cats, and now I'm doing it on the internet. And like, if you get in and out at the right time, you make some money. So I don't know, that concept was like, I guess, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm not actually sure if I've seen this article. Cool.
I pulled up for those that are listening. I pulled up the original fighting arena that I had to go through a handful of links to find it. It was a little bit tucked away, but a lot of history here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we recently, this used to be the site till like probably like 3 weeks ago. And then we sort of, now you can see it's at v1.cryptofighters.io. We plan to keep the V1 up as long as like forever, I guess. But with the V2 collection coming out soon, basically we've sort of switched out the website now to the V2 collection. But yeah, I guess for finishing my answer on like sort of what it was about CryptoKitties and NFTs, I never thought NFTs would blow up like they would. I did sort of see it as like sort of something fun short term, and it was what's it called? I guess the programming aspect of it, that like Ethereum, I guess, is like you have this digital money, which is really cool. And then like Ethereum, like, I guess is no longer novel, or like everyone knows how it works, but that you could like write code and like have this game on the blockchain, and it's fully trustless, and like it's fully decentralized basically. And like no one's in control, and sort of just runs by itself, and you can create like a type of money type thing. Like everything around that was just like very interesting to me, I guess, as a coder. And yeah, it was like a fun project to go and put together with a few friends.
So the underlying technology, the NFT component, was inspired by CryptoKitties. Is there an inspiration behind the fighters? When I first look at this, it kind of reminds me of something very similar to like World of Warcraft or maybe RuneScape. Was there any sort of inspiration between the team for these characters?
Yeah, so another team member was like more in charge of that side. Like we had like, as a team, we had like the overall concept, but in terms of how we were actually, the design, the sort of 5 base characters, 4 that you'll see on the website, I guess, and a 5th one, the Death Knight, which is quite rare, which might be here somewhere, but yeah, you'd find it on OpenSea probably. In terms of like inspiration, I think like there was a bit of like League of Legends inspiration in terms of some of the characters. I think it like, having seen Arcane recently, I guess it is like very different, but yeah, they're like, I guess the inspiration for characters was just sort of from like existing games that like the other founders were playing, and yeah, just taking concepts from there and yeah, the artists obviously had their own take on it, how they wanted it to look.
Was the art done in-house with a team, or was it outsourced? And the reason why I ask is because now with the crazy NFT rush, everyone rushes to Fiverr to have somebody else create it, and they don't even tell the Fiverr artist what it's actually used for. Back then, there's probably a little bit of a different process.
Yeah, I mean, it was outsourced at the time as well. I feel like my co-founders found the artist on Reddit. He actually today, at the time, I'm trying to think, he now, wow. Okay, he works for a TV show now. I'm blanking slightly on what the name is. Wow, it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, yeah, it was like an external artist. I don't know if how well. I guess the artist as well. I had no idea what NFTs were, and I'm not. Yeah, I assume we told him at the time, but I guess none of us on the team or even the artists expected this to sort of be one of the first ever NFT projects. It is sort of quite different to today. Like when an artist is doing some NFT work, they know what it's for.
Yeah, it's really taken the world by storm. And there is definitely a trend within late 2017 and early 2018 within these play to earn type, we call them projects or experiments back then, popping up in fruition. And you could tell every single creator that I talk with are always inspired by CryptoKitties. It's so fascinating. The only difference here with CryptoFighters, which is super unique, is that when I was reading the details, when you have 2 CryptoFighters fight, you aren't rewarded in what's now a typical model of having an ERC20 token. The winner was then rewarded another fighter, correct? That's where the generations come from?
Yeah, exactly. So that's like, yeah, exactly. And that's quite a similar model to CryptoKitties, where basically you took two cats and you're awarded a new cat. So also the reason there are hundreds of thousands of CryptoKitties today, because I think you can still go and just generate as many cats as you want, just buy two cats on NFT or on OpenSea, breed them, and you would have printed a new NFT that you could potentially sell if you want. I don't know where it started with the sort of being rewarded with an ERC20 token. I know Axie Infinity did it. Maybe they're the ones that started it. I think it's like pretty smart, because the issue with a collection like ours only we stopped it at 5,000 or so. We stopped battles. But in terms of like that mechanism, when you win a new fighter every single battle, like you're inflating the supply like crazy. So that's why CryptoKitties has hundreds of thousands. And with the ERC20 token, you're basically making it so you win 1% of a fighter. So you, let's say, win 100 battles, and then you create a new fighter, a new Axie. In our case, it's like every battle. So I think it's definitely, it was a smart move to award tokens that can then be used to generate new fighters, rather than sort of just straight out awarding a new fighter every victory.
Yeah, from my belief so far, I had on one of the founders of Hedgie, which is also a 2018 project. They had a token called Curio, and I believe that might be the first one. There might be something around there, but 2018 is heavy experimentation. And unfortunately with CryptoKitties, because of the over dilution of supply, there's now like 2 million kitties. The price is pretty much tanked. Yeah, it's pretty much tanked. This is quite random number, 4,953. Was that a hard cap discussed by the team, or did it just end up being that cap because NFTs kind of faded off for a little while, and that's when the momentum behind the game ended? What was the decision, or I guess the story behind 4,953 supply?
Yeah. Okay. I'm actually just taking a quick look at Hedge. I see the Hedgie contract looks like it's October 2018. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. I don't remember when Axie went, and I know Axie was like March, but I don't know if they did the token rewards right from the beginning. Mm-hmm. But yeah, in terms of where our number came from, so in short, as a team, we're able to mint up to 25,000 crypto fighters, like basically generation zero fighters. So we minted around, I think it's 1,771 in total, basically. And yeah, we stopped minting them at a certain point because there was like, the market was already getting quite flooded, basically. But in short, there wasn't so, like, there were already a lot of fighters on the market. So we're just, we'll let people that already own fighters sell them. In terms of the 4,900 number, so the other 3,000, they were all minted for free because people went and battled and created new fighters, Gen 1s, Gen 2s, and so on. It was sort of, it's just a bit of a random stop at 4,953 because we stopped it around a few months ago, I guess, where we just sort of said we're not going to mint any more fighters. We're going to sort of keep the historic aspect of the collection, I guess, and not go and we're going to turn off battles one, and also we're not going to go and suddenly mint 23,000 fighters. And I assume a lot of the owners would have been quite upset if we went and did that. I have seen other collections, like I think it was Crypto Bots maybe, that went and did go out and mint a few more. Maybe it would have been a smart move for us to mint a few hundred more and then cap it out, maybe at 5,000. But yeah, in short, it was just like that. At a certain point, we just turned off battles, and we haven't minted Gen Zeros in years. And sort of we turned it off at one point, and that's why it's that random 4,953 number.
Yeah, keeping the historic component intact is a pretty heavy decision for a team because, as we know, the historical NFT space is still quite nascent. It is growing, but when you look at like overall historical artifacts in the real world, these things are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I literally posted a tweet the other day that one of the first ever bulls created supposedly sold for like $40 million, even though it's a bull. And so right now, a lot of this stuff seems like very novel of like, who's going to buy a Death Knight from a 2018 collection? But 5-10 years from now, when there's hundreds of millions of NFTs in the world, everyone's going to go back and look at the history behind it. And then you could find your little aesthetics from it. So this then leads me to the next question of, was there a resurrection with CryptoFighters? Was there a rediscovery? Did the team just, I wouldn't say abandon because it has a negative connotation, but did the team move on to other projects and then eventually return when you realized that NFTs were starting to catch a lot of mainstream attention?
Like semi, like our CryptoFighters has always been maintained like the last 4 years or so. I know there's a bunch of other collections that I was like slightly disappointed in that had like turned off this site. And like, to me, always these NFTs basically just like live on forever. Like even in 100 years or even 1,000 years from now, like they're here basically. Is also how I saw it. Like when we mint, is like, it's on the blockchain, it's here for good. And we're not suddenly going to turn off this website. And I did see a bunch of other sites like turn off and then sort of turn back on when they realized sort of things are starting up again, which I don't think community reacted to that at all. They were happy to see projects come back. But to me, it was always like a bit off-putting. So yeah, CryptoFighters, it's been running the last 4 years. The website has never gone off. There were issues occasionally, but me and Avi, another co-founder, we even in 2019, 2020, when basically no one was using it, we did sort of go and make fixes on the server, and when things weren't like sort of, it wasn't tracking the blockchain correctly, we'd restart a server, or like make the fixes that were needed. But beyond that, yeah, there wasn't like heavy maintenance. The team from then, it was like 6 original co-founders, and sort of each person went on to do other things. Some of them have been extremely successful even. Anyway, some of the team members have been extremely, extremely successful since. Not in the crypto space, just general startups. Like I guess in March, around a year ago now, like I guess there's been a few like historical pumps over the year. It must be around 4 or 5, maybe 4 different pumps that happened. And I mean, we've definitely been more on top of CryptoFighters over the last year. As we've seen, sort of, we didn't intend to do a V2 a few years ago, I guess, when it launched. And now, so obviously seeing the NFT space come back, and people are like, oh, well, what's happening with CryptoFighters? So yeah, we've been working on the V2 basically.
Yeah, and we'll go into the V2 here in a second. I do want to talk about just you for a second. As I was looking through this, obviously on your this is your Twitter account I have pulled up. Draft Fantasy we talked about, and then I clicked on, it says you're CEO of Exodia. It's an NFT analytics platform. Looks like it popped up a little recently, or you've been working on it since 2018, but recently sold out. Tell us a little bit about Exodia.
Yeah, so it's interesting. This account, it joined in 2018. I guess it's historical in that sense. You are uncovering like a historical, like the origins of Exodia are actually like very early, like historical, like I guess like NFT analytics. There really weren't a lot of the time. So my co-founder had like started it back then, and I think it was just too early for NFTs basically. And if you go to the media here, maybe it's too long now, but if you like scroll all the way back in like the media of this account, there's a media tab at the top. I mean, so you'll see some like historical things happening. Like I think you probably have to go way back, but you'll see like, if you want to see like what the state of the market was in 2019, like the early tweets on this account, basically we'll have some screenshots.
Oh yeah.
Here you can like CryptoKitties. Here you can see the platform from, I guess it was being built in 2019.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So for those who are listening, I went all the way back to the first image posted on this Exodia account from February 16, 2019. And it looks like something straight from like CoinMarketCap, but for NFTs, you have Decentraland is first, CryptoKitties second, Decentraland Real Estate, My Crypto Heroes. Ooh, I don't know what that is. That might be some alpha for somebody to go dig up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But it's cool. The Decentraland has the top market cap of 24,000 ETH, and then CryptoKitties is at 14,000. Wow. Yeah, this is digging up some history right here.
Yeah, it's worth taking a look through the account. But yeah, in short, I wasn't involved with this at all at the time. And then basically, what happened this year, basically when CryptoKitties, my co-founder from Exodia, basically we had organized a blockchain hackathon together in 2018, and sort of we'd stayed in touch over the years, but this is what he had sort of been building back then. It was too early for the market at that time. yeah, basically like half a year ago or so, I realized there's so much data missing in the market. There were tools like Icy Tools. I think it just started to come out. But this, I guess, even when we started working on this, Icy Tools, I'm not even sure existed. They sort of launched a week or two after we started working on it. But in short, there's just like the tooling for the space was just so lacking. I think it still is lacking. There's still so much more we can do with analytics tools, and like we're trying to fix Exodia. Although like since we've launched, probably another 20 different projects are all doing the same thing. But there still is sort of a gap in the market to do better tooling. And yeah, I reached out to my friend like Almir, who had been doing this back then. I was like, okay, let's build an NFT analytics. So we reused the name Exodia. Basically, we created like sort of a whole new platform. We didn't reuse any of the code from back then. But yeah, that's sort of how the story behind Exodia basically.
Wow, I have to say this chart that I pulled up there's a ton of alpha in here. There's a lot of, since this is from 2019, this is obviously all of these like 50 different NFT games that are listed on here from before. I do recognize some. Panda Earth I had on, CryptoBots, obviously CryptoPunks, Decentraland. So some of these are still around. Most of these are not, probably waiting to be dug up by some people.
Yeah. I feel like he was doing this in 2018. I can check with him if he has even earlier screenshots. Maybe it was at the beginning of 2019 where he really started to, maybe that's when the Twitter account was started to become active.
Wow. So when you guys started Exodia and you're providing analytics, there were no NFT analytic companies on the market?
It was like Nansen was around. That was sort of the biggest one. Oh, there were things like Wagny, I think, was one of the very early ones, basically. When we started, there's a difference sort of between when we started working on it and by the time we actually launched. It launched around 4 months ago. So yeah, I guess sort of September-ish time, I guess makes sense.
Yeah, you see the difference here between these posts are March 16th, 2019, and then September 27th, 2021. So
yeah, so like, you can sort of see the work starting to happen. Even September is basically, it's still sneak peeks. The platform hasn't even launched. But yeah, I would say the analytics space was still sort of early. I guess you have things like DApp Radar and things like that, but they don't really go into detail. But yeah, since then, like sort of in the we launched around 4 months ago. Since then, like a lot has happened. If you want a bit of extra alpha, like the V2, which is launching like in like very soon as well. If you go to exodia.io/dashboard, you'll be able to start seeing parts of the V2.
Really?
Like a bit of a change, but this will become public by the time this video. Oh, small typo. This will become public by the time the video is launched.
Yep. Oh wow, yeah, this is alpha. I love all of the different NFT analytic companies that are popping out because we need more information out there to help the market gauge what's the right price value for something, and then kind of create or eliminate some of those arbitrage opportunities, which eventually helps like mature the market. So these type of tools are very necessary for the growth and maturity of the non-fungible markets.
Yeah, if you go to indexes, by the way, on the left, you can put indexes on your dashboard as well. But if you click historical, so obviously as a historic crypto.
Oh, wow. Yes. We need this.
It's not like super, super interesting. Like if you scroll down a bit, you'll see like who's in the collection and stuff. Mm-hmm. We wanted to get in as many as we could, but the ones that aren't in there, it's just because they don't work well, let's say, like they're not like well supported on OpenSea or things like that. I see a bunch of them. Okay, maybe we shouldn't be showing the bugs, but yeah, I guess a bunch of them are showing 0 and it's not actually the price. Hey, so we gotta fix this up before the V2, but yeah.
Interesting. So you have Spells of Genesis on here, even though it was on top of Bitcoin. So that's a cool.
Yeah, I guess it's like an OpenSea version of it now. I'm not like super on top of what it like people like wrap them like.
Oh, okay, yeah.
OpenSea icon, I think.
Yeah. So this is probably. Oh wow, I didn't even realize that there's some people who were wrapping them on here, but I mean that makes complete sense.
I don't fully know how that works, but or if there's sort of a bit of trust involved in that process. But
yeah, wow. Okay, historical spot. We're all hoping for the big. I guess you call it Exodia if you played Yu-Gi-Oh. And in the room, which is
where the name is from. I haven't I don't really know it. I watched the first episode.
Coinbase NFTs. Supposedly, the rumor is you're supposed to have a historical NFT section.
That'd be amazing. Nice. That would be awesome.
It'd give a lot of validity to the market itself. So do you still own any crypto fighters?
Yeah, I own more nowadays than I used to own. I mean, I have like 40 or so in my wallet, and I'm not sure how many I had before, but like my wife owns 2 from 4 years ago, which she's like never selling. And then like it's from when we just started dating, and she's like, she wants it to get to 50 Ethereum before she sells. She's like going to pass it on to our kids. And then, yeah, I've been building up my collection of CryptoKitties over the last few months, because I feel like I wasn't exposed enough, like sort of to the upside. We've got the team upside, but I wanted to own myself basically. So I have been buying over the last few months.
Amazing. Do you collect any other historical NFTs?
I have like here and there, like I'm trying to think. I actually don't own any CryptoKitties, but I did back in the day. But I remember I also sold them all back in the day. More recently, I'll like pick up like a random one every so often. Like I feel like I've got one random ether tulip, which to be honest is not a collection I sort of really love. But I guess it's historical, but it's just like I didn't understand it at the time. All these tulips are just like exactly the same, and they had quite a lot of hype around them back then, and also got a little bit of hype right now. Crypto skulls, I know it's part of the historical NFT space, but I guess it's not really historical in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I do own one of them regardless, just to sort of support the community, and yeah, I think long term, I think the team behind it, like they're continuing to push. So I got in like sort of after the whole hype when it dropped down again to like 1 Ethereum or so. I decided to get in at that point. I probably own like a few more random historical NFTs.
Yeah, regarding crypto schools, you do bring up a very important point, which I try to help people decipher the difference. Historical kind of has this like attachment that there's significance behind it, which obviously given so, there are a lot of historical things. Crypto schools I consider more vintage. That's just like more age dependent than it is actually like something significant. Although within the historical space and significant, you could build all these different narratives behind it, right? So the narratives behind crypto schools at the moment is the second 10K PFP project, which means that it's basically the second CryptoPunks, I guess you call it derivative, until another 10K PFP one that pops up before, because things get dug up all the time. So you can add all these different things. Is supply actually a value metric? I don't know. The crypto schools community though is great. That's why I want to own it. But I try to help people try to decipher the difference between vintage and historical. Was it meaningful at the time? Is it meaningful now because the price is more valuable? Like, is that why it's historical? There's so many different components that surround it. But when you go to crypto fighters, it's literally one of the earliest play to earn games, which hasn't caught. Which is starting to catch even more attention. So there is some significance there, which you could use the same for crypto schools, because they're like punks, but that's where the fun and evaluation comes from.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the value I'd give it, say that it's the historical NFT community behind it, and that like I think like it could well continue to do well in the future, because like people pushing it, like continuing to build it out and making it a more important brand. But yeah, like how I guess really like I guess like a huge amount of luck and like certain factors coming into play, where it's just like you have this NFT which is sort of uncovered and like the price is very cheap, and then basically the dynamics basically behind it, in my opinion, is more about like sort of what made it possible, where people could be buying up thousands at very cheap prices, and then sort of, but there's room for profit basically.
Yeah.
It's that dynamics where you can't really do that same thing with crypto fighters. But and then obviously a narrative is built around it. Like, I don't know, I guess I think like a 2019 project is like the second after CryptoPunks and anything is like, I don't know, like, anyway, I own the project. I want it to succeed. Like, we'll probably even have partnerships with crypto fighters and crypto scars, but the narrative is a bit iffy to me.
Yeah, I agree. The community though is what keeps it intact. So I pulled up
100%.
I pulled up Adam McBride's Medium post that he wrote about you guys when he had you on from September 6th, 2021. talks about the supply, the play to earn we've discussed. What we haven't discussed is the rarities behind the CryptoFighters. The Death Knights one are the most rare. It says there's only 15 of them. The highest sale price was about 7.5 ETH. And I'm going to pull up.
I think it's higher, actually. There was one for 10 ETH a while back, I think.
Interesting. Here, let's see. So this one says 7.5. Could have been like an over-the-counter trade. I know that happens a lot within. So
you know what I think happened? I think there was actually some interesting dynamics. Someone went and bought the Death Knight for 1 Ethereum. Then immediately, like, there was a bit of hype. He listed it for 10 Ethereum. It got bought pretty quickly, basically. And then that person that bought it for 10 went and started battling. This is when black battles were still open. And basically, by winning battles, he started minting a whole bunch of other Death Knights, basically. So now this guy has, like, there were only maybe like 9 Death Knights, 10 Death Knights at the time. And suddenly this guy's now owning like sort of a third of the Death Knight market. This is also part of the reason why people were like, oh, you got to turn off battles. We don't want to see an infinite number of Death Knights and so on. And the collection can sort of never like go up if people can keep minting for free, just paying a lot of gas. But yeah, I think so. What that guy went and did then was he sold. I think maybe he sold on the one he bought for 10. He sold it on for 5. But each of the others that he had minted, he had also sold on. So I think that person had like made a profit of. He probably like roughly broke even. But in short, like he on that Death Knight itself that he bought for 10, he lost 5 Ethereum on that specific Death Knight. And then he made it back on some other Death Knights, basically.
Wow. It's so funny, the like gold rush that happens within historical NFTs, whether they're rediscovered or just new found attention is brought in that direction. And you could go in and kind of game the market based off of the mechanics of how it's built. That's just one of many different ways. I'm a big collector within the Mooncat community. So what happened with Mooncat, something very similar, where on the original adoption center from 2017, there's a bunch of Mooncats, or there was a bunch of what's called Genesis Mooncats, the black and white ones, and people just like wrote bots and just like sniped a lot of them. And then there was still 144 that had to be released, and the community ended up voting on burning it, because if they would have been released, the bots would have picked them all up and it would have just like completely wrecked the entire market.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's the first time I came across Adam McBride's videos, when like sort of the first Mooncat pump. Yeah.
Yeah. This is so going back to the rarities. How did the team before even upon creation of this, determine how the rarities would be included within all of these different fighters and some of the differentiations between them?
So in terms of, in short, there's a handful of different traits on each. Sort of, you have eyes, you have hair, you have the weapon, you have armor, you have shoes, and so on. And then with each background color and I guess skin color, and sort of, I guess gold is often sort of the rarest one. And yeah, you have, I guess, like in short, there's different rarities basically. And yeah, each fighter is a combination basically of all those different traits. Like if you want to see the rarest of every trait, if you sort of go to CryptoFighter ID number 1, you'll sort of find is it maybe the rarest half elf, and then if you go to CryptoFighters number 2, you'll find the rarest. If you like click on it,
I think oldest, right?
You could do that. But it seems like OpenSea doesn't have it 100%. Go to the URL and change 41 at the end to like 1. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think it's working. But if you go back to an orc, let's say.
Here.
Oh, you could do it on this site as well. If you click one of the fighters.
Yeah, let's go to oldest on here.
This will only show what's in the marketplace. If you click if you click if you click on the fighter, and then in the URL, can you see it says 279?
Oh yeah.
Change that to 1, for example. And in short, like this is sort of the ultimate half elf, where it's like she's like golden background. It's got like moon order plus weapon. She's got like the sort of the ultimate of each one. And if she would go and fight, then she'd also create quite rare ones. But basically, there's sort of 4 originals, which are 1, 2, 3, 4 in the ideas. And then if you want to find the rarest of every trait, you look at those. And then later on, there's a Death Knight that's also similar to that. And then, every fighter that comes afterwards is it's slightly less pure, basically, and has differing traits. And there's, I guess, a bit of randomness, what traits you get for the future IDs.
So within the game, if I wanted to use this first ever Crypto Fighter, the half elf, would it have a large advantage over the other fighters based off of just its history and I guess you could say winning percentage within the arena?
We've never actually battled with the half elf. This one, the original 4 is sort of just sitting there, just in the team's wallet. I think maybe one day we need to put them in a basket and fractionalize it and pass it to the community. We don't sort of ever want to break these up. But yeah, in terms of stats of battles, it's if you look on the left, it was strength of 12 and then 11 and 5. So that's what would determine how strong it is in battle. The fact that it's golden or has a special weapon, it didn't actually affect the battles, basically. Only the stats did. And I think it has quite strong stats as a Gen 0, but it's not if you got a new fighter, even a Gen 1 that you battled with 10 times, you would have upgraded it enough to be way stronger than this half elf.
Okay, so the rarities were just for the collectible aspect, and then the stats are what had an effect on the actual gameplay within the arena. How are the stats and attributes determined? It looks like there's 4 stats: strength, I don't know what VIT is, luck,
vitality, dexterity, and luck.
Mm-hmm. How are those determined? Was that just upon mint, it was randomly generated, or was there a combination of something else?
It was random upon mint. The Gen 0s that was slightly higher, had slightly better stats. I think it was, I don't actually fully remember. If you're a half elf, you might have maybe it's strength, which is your good one. You're more likely to have a lot of strength. And if you're an orc, you might be more likely, again, if you're a demon, maybe it's dexterity, which is a 1, which is likely to be the highest. So there was we didn't actually ever reveal what the exact ruling was, but it's something along those lines where certain stats, you are more likely to get a certain stat to be very high if you are, depending on your type, basically. I guess here's another half elf also has quite a lot of strength. Oh, here you see a half elf that's actually gone into battle quite a lot and lost 21 times. So this half elf, you can see the overall numbers, that the stats are much stronger than sort of the original half elf we saw, because this elf has won 15 times basically.
I wonder do you know just off the top of your head if the battles fought has an effect on the price?
I think to a small extent, if you own the one with, let's say, the absolute most fights, I think people will value it more. Or let's say the most battles won. It's probably the same one with the most fights and the most battles won. I think it is a good one to pick up, basically. But overall, I don't think there's been that much put into, let's say, the battle stats. People have been mostly looking at the traits, things like golden skin and golden backgrounds have had a lot of value basically from the community. And even here you see someone has a golden thing on the plate armor or whatever it's called. Maybe it's plate armor plus that orc on the right. So it will give a bit of an extra value, but I guess the golden skin, let's say, something that stands out more and people will value higher.
Yes, yeah. It looks like not many people are considering battles won. That's just more of a novelty within the gameplay itself. So that's pretty cool. And now that
would give you a higher chance of winning if you were battling now. If you'd won a lot of battles, your stats would be very high, basically. So you would have a higher chance of winning.
Okay. And so you mentioned this in the very beginning, and now we can dive into this a little bit with the V2 that's coming out. And actually, Elie gave this website to me because at the time of this recording, this website isn't out, but it'll be released here within the next few days. So here's exclusive look, even though it's out now, but from our perspective.
I mentioned also there's definitely some typos and things that need to be fixed up on the page before it gets released. But yeah, the overall it's sort of 95% what is going to come out tomorrow or in 2 days' time. And
we discussed this before recording too, that you have a whole team who's working on this. So you're kind of just giving the directions. You're from the lead. So yeah, there could be some errors. Are the original fighters going to can you use the original fighters in this game, or is it going to be a brand new collection?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is, it is a new collection, but every one of the sort of the V1s is going to basically upgrade to V2. You'd be able to keep your V1 for sure. And then you would also get the equivalent V2 basically. So that orc you saw at the top, or even I guess in the image right now, I think that's orc like with ID number 2 is like a golden orc in the V1, and basically he converts into like you would get like the 3D version of the V2. How it's currently set to go, unless it changes by the time we launch the video, but if you own a V1, you're going to get airdropped a potion. And with that potion, you'll get 50% off. Basically, let's say the mint price of the V2 is 0.1 for a regular user. If you own a Crypto Fighter V1, you'll get the mint at like 0.05, 50% of the price. Mm-hmm. And you don't need to mint it. You will airdrop everyone a potion. If they want to use their potion to upgrade, they can. But if they don't want to, they don't need to either. We don't want to sort of, I guess, force it. We want to reward V1 holders, but we don't want to force someone with 150 fighters to go and upgrade because it's like extremely expensive. But they get the potion if they want. They can sell it on, and yeah, they can upgrade basically if they want to.
Interesting. So V2, will the supply be limited to 4953, or will there be an extension of it?
There will be an extension. It will be, let's say, roughly another, let's say, 8,000 or so that will be added on. So let's say it won't be all 5,000 are minted, because I think just some of them are like lost basically. But in short, yeah, let's say absolute most would be, let's say, roughly around 13,000 fighters. These exact numbers might change, but by the time this comes out, but yeah, that's a rough idea basically. Here you see the half elf in the V2 basically. Another nice thing they added in this version is sort of a story behind each character basically, which were like the storytelling wasn't that prominent in the V1, and now you sort of start to hear the background. This is sort of the Death Knight in 3D and animated.
Yeah, as NFTs have progressed, the lore and the story behind these NFT projects have been so crucial, and you see this. They're kind of becoming like the media or Web3 versions of media companies. Essentially, is what a lot of these NFTs are becoming now. So you have to have the story now.
Right.
And here we see
a new game coming out. This is like, the game won't be released immediately. It will take a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. And here it looks like you're adopting. Now, we discussed this before. The original arena had, you fought 2 fighters, you got a fighter. Now it looks like you're actually gonna have a ERC20 token, which is CF for crypto fighters, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it won't be released like initially. Like, we definitely need to make sure we're all compliant on like the legal side of things, and it is a bit of a worry for us. But in short, what's happening, let's say, in the very near future is like sort of the V2 release coming out with a bit of a roadmap, which should be implemented within, let's say, the next 2 or 3 months or so, and then, well, at least sort of the initial game would be implemented within the next 2 or 3 months, and then there would be things continuing after that.
Interesting. So then I want to ask this question then. Since I'm located in the US, I would assume the team is headquartered in Tel Aviv. What is the legal perspective on play to earn games down in there? And do you feel like down in I say Asia, Europe, that they're more lenient towards these kind of new ideas, or they're more regulatory and they want to push back on it?
Like legal side of crypto is a bit of a mess. Like across the world, Israel isn't too friendly towards it at all. In some ways, if you want to open up a bank account for like an Israeli crypto company, it's difficult to do basically. It's a headache. In short, if you're running a crypto company out of Israel, you've probably got an Israeli company, and you've probably got a company abroad. If it's Gibraltar, BVI, Singapore, Dubai, there's a handful of like sort of places like people go to. In the past, Estonia was one that people used to go to. There's no like, I'm not sure there's like too much regulation around it, but if you try and like take a lot of Ethereum and put it in your bank account in Israel, it's just like it's not an easy thing to do basically.
Wow. Yeah. So there's so much confusion. We saw with Bored Ape Yacht Club, with their play to earn game, they have to KYC every single individual. Obviously, they've got a ton of pushback from that because it kind of goes against the whole crypto ethos of decentralization and pseudonymity. We'll see what really happens, but that was
something. Yeah, sorry, no.
No, go ahead.
No, you're right. Like, yeah, I think we'll see a lot of the space moving in that direction. Like NFTs, it's sort of like, it's a mix where it's sort of like collectibles and art where maybe you don't need the KYC. And then there's just like rampant speculation, and like it is a good way, let's say, to money launder, or I don't know, potentially like the terrorist organizations could be like passing money through it as well. So yeah, I think like sort of the regular crypto space does like have a lot more KYC. If you're like, if you go on Coindesk or something, I think you go, or like on any of the crypto exchanges, are going to find out exactly who you are and all your details and ask you to upload a passport and so on. So I'm not sure how much we'll see that in the NFT space, but I think, yeah, more and more regulation is coming. And I guess like what Bored Apes is definitely not something they wanted to do. It's just like, you know, they're a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and their hand has been forced by lawyers basically. And like, it might be the case for the entire NFT space in a year from now.
Yep. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but they just acquired the IP for CryptoPunks. So their valuation is now around $5 billion. It's absolutely insane. I do want to talk about this ERC 721R. So we're starting to see now new forms or new developments within the ERC 721. Azuki did an ERC 721A, which gave them a lot of attention, bringing new innovation. This says ERC 721R is a wrapper interface for the ERC 721 standard that supports NFT refunds for 30 days after mint. The interface was developed by the CryptoFighters team. Can you tell us a little bit about this innovation to at least the degree that you know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So this is me like pushing this I'm like pretty heavy on this within our team. Like not everyone's on board. It's like the ideas came from me, and like I'm like,
ooh, yes,
this is an innovation I'd love to see across the space. The CryptoFighters isn't the first one to do it. For Exodia, we actually did this as well, where we had a 14-day refund. This was like 4 months ago or so, and there was a project that launched slightly after us at that time as well called Curious Addies. That, like, in terms of the history of refunds, like there's probably like been 3-ish projects that I'm aware of. There were like Exodia, Curious Addies, and one other around that time. The concept is pretty simple. Like, we want to bring more accountability to the space. There were rug pulls. There was just like, you know, like, I don't know, just too many mints are just sort of like, you know, people trying to get in and out as quickly as possible. And sort of the team gives up 2 weeks later. And really what we want to see is smart contracts enable this functionality that you can, you know, the same way you'd have a refund in the regular world, you could have a refund with smart contracts. The money stays in the smart contract. Basically, everything can be done trustlessly. Someone could return their NFT. And the idea behind it is really that, you can see how the team is working basically for the 30 days or 100 days, whatever the number is, after the mint basically. And there's sort of more accountability. It'd be very, very difficult to pull off a rug pull if the space had to have refunds, because, you know, you have to show something within those 30 days or 100 days, whatever the amount of time is. And if you don't, and if it's a rug pull, everyone will just sort of return their NFT and get their money back. You lose a bit of gas costs, but in short, the rug pullers wouldn't be able to get away with it. So for me, it's just like, I don't know why more projects don't do it. There are so many benefits both to the project and to the buyers for a mechanism like this. Like other additional benefits, it might not immediately be obvious, but like it's a good way to get flippers out of the collection, which can hurt the sort of the long time life of the collection. There's a few ways things can go after mint. The price can sort of shoot up straight away, and then refunds aren't irrelevant, because why would you refund for something way cheaper? But in the event that prices don't like sort of massively go up, so a lot of the people that were there for sort of 2-3 days, they'll go refund their NFT. They'll give the NFT back. They'll get their money back. And sort of now, even though you've got a bunch of refunds, so you have like the core that has stayed is a lot stronger. You don't see the floor price dropping to like 30% of the mint price either, because sort of like there's no reason to. You might as well just do the refund instead of selling it at like a third of the floor price. And the team basically is forced to like show something within the refund period. Because if they don't, if they're not showing good progress, like more and more people will refund basically. So that's sort of the basic idea behind ER721R. We're doing it for CryptoFighters. Like not every team member has been super on board, but I'm just like, no, we have to do this. I want to see this across the entire space, and we're definitely doing it for CryptoFighters. So yeah, we like following Azuki, we added a letter. I wouldn't say there's like a ton of code you need to really make the refunds happen, but yeah, that's sort of the concept behind it. There's certain people in the space that are like pretty happy to see refunds happen, and I just want to see as many projects do it as possible. And our project is obviously one of them.
Wow. Yeah. This is it's kind of like a buyer friendly vesting period. And it's very interesting. This is something that we need. My question would be, so let's say the price does tank within the first, let's say somebody chooses 90-day period for a team to be very friendly to their buyers. Let's say day 80, the price tanks 20% and then everyone issues the refund. Does the refund come directly from the wallet where everything was minted through?
So the money goes into the smart contract. The team can't withdraw that money for 90 days. Basically, it's just locked in. In that 90-day period, each buyer can decide, I can just send back my NFT to the smart contract and get my money back. And they don't need to ask anyone to do that. They can do that on Etherscan. They can do it through some other interface. Like it's just fully trustless. They don't need to speak to anyone. And there's no way the team can pull out that money before the 90 days. It's always there. It's guaranteed. Then after the 90 days, the team can withdraw it and start using it like for whatever needs they have basically.
Okay. And maybe this goes beyond the scope of the protocol itself, but let's say 50% of the people issue a refund. Is the project then therefore just theoretically dead, or would they have the ability to kind of redo it all over again, even though there's been some traction within the project?
So it's not a 50% refund would be like really like quite a large amount. If you think about sort of regular projects, like regular products, like in general, even if you saw like a 10-20% refund, that's like really like quite a lot. I think from Curious Ideas, maybe it was hundreds of people refunded, but you're talking about like for less than 10%, maybe 5%. For Exodia as well, you're looking at like maybe 25 out of 500 people refunded. So also like 5-ish%. So like on the grand scale, things quite low. But I think even a project like ours, let's say we mint 8,000 at 0.1, 800 Ethereum comes in and 400 Ethereum gets refunded. Still, there's like a fairly large amount, 400 Ethereum, that's sort of sitting in the company. The company also, we own these NFTs that have been returned. So we're now holding like these 4,000 NFTs, which we can still sell on. Potentially, like I'd even be happy to hold them because I think like if the project is doing well, longer term, those NFTs are actually worth more. The price goes up over time. So it's like, yeah, to me, there are situations where we like, I guess it could be terrible for the creators if there's sort of like a really, really large refund, they really like, they didn't have any leeway at all in the funds they were taking in. Right now, I think every NFT project is so over, like, or at least the last few months is so sort of over. They take in a lot more money than they need for any like sort of actual roadmap that it shouldn't. I can't imagine a situation where like, oh, there's so many refunds. Sorry, we can't do what we wanted to do. Like the teams that weren't going to do what they wanted to do is like they weren't going to do that anyway with any amount of money. And also, if there is a situation where everyone's refunding and like, oh, the project's dead, like, I mean, that to me, that's okay as well. If people like, we don't believe in the CryptoFighters team, you're not executing well. We bought into this vision, and everyone starts refunding. Like, I don't know, I'm okay with that basically, and that's the reality. It's like something that could happen, and teams should be accountable and like. Yeah, like they should work as hard as they can to sort of avoid that situation.
I could see it where in a situation or scenario where then it puts more pressure on the team to kind of ship the product because now the NFTs become a treasury asset, and obviously you want your treasury to grow. So therefore you have to continually add more utility. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that protocol or that new feature adds on and seeing other projects adopt it as well. That's absolutely huge. Before we get out of here, I do want to touch a little bit on the roadmap. We are in March of 2022, so this will be launched pretty soon. And then you mentioned that the token is after that. And then for season 2, partnership realms, Is partnership integration of other NFTs something like we see in like World Wide Web, the metaverse, or is there something else in mind?
Yeah, so I need to fully check with partners what we're doing. I actually didn't. This parts of this landing page have been updated in the last day. In terms of partnerships, we would like to integrate with a few other NFTs. So we're looking heavily sort of like the historical NFT space, like giving benefits, let's say, to a crypto skull holder, like the mage in CryptoFighters holds a skull. So like if finding like an integration there, it might. I'll clarify with partners, I guess, but I thought we were going to look for these sorts of integrations a bit sooner, but I guess maybe the plan is to have them towards more June time, basically.
Absolutely incredible, Elie. Thank you. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for showing us this or showing me this before it even launches. I do believe that there's going to be a bright future, especially with that ERC 721R. That's really, really capturing my curiosity while we're talking, just thinking about all the future potential possibilities.
Yeah, I would love to see like collections, just like, to take it further. It might well be we have a 30-day refund. I was pushing for a bit more, but that might be the number we stay with. But like, I don't know, long term, like you could see collections, like there's so much that could be done there. It might be, you're vesting over like a year, like that token, like they slowly get like 10% released at the beginning and then 10% a few months later. There's so many variations of that. Like right now, I'm pretty happy just to sort of see the basic mechanic come out. But I think the concept there, but like, teams can do so much with it, basically.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, everyone who's listening, make sure that you follow CryptoFighters at CryptoFighters. Also, make sure that you follow Elie as well at Elie22222. Thank you, Elie, again for hanging out and having this conversation. I'm excited to see where the development goes within CryptoFighters and the bright future that's ahead for not only you, the team, and just the growing historical space, as well as Exodia as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
No problem, man. For everyone who's made it this far and got all of that alpha, make sure you go dig on some of those projects that we were showing before. Give all of us a follow and check out CryptoFighters in the future. Thank you all for listening and watching. We'll catch you next time.